Welcome back to the Twedt Show podcast. As always, I am your host, Chanler. And on today's episode, we're going to recap week 1 of the NFL. We're going to talk about all the games, and I mean every single one of them, except for the Monday night one, because that one hasn't happened yet, because I'm recording this at 9:30 in the morning. And so, yeah. We're going to talk about the Bills comeback. We're going to talk about, are the Jets pretty good? Are the Steelers back? Is Aaron Rodgers back? Are the Dolphins cooked? Is Daniel Jones might be good? Who knows? We got so much other things to talk about. So with that being said, we'll get started with today's episode. All right. It is September 8th, 2025, and football is back. And it is so back right now. Let me tell you, it is back more than ever. It was a good first week 1. There were some snoozers in there, but there were some good games in there as well. As just like the Sunday night game, which we'll talk about here towards about the end here. You got the Jets game, which we'll talk about here pretty soon. I mean, so yeah. All right, so let's get started. I do want to say this real quick. I did originally was planning on doing some type of like preview show of week 1 and kind of previewing the games. And I was in the middle of that recording. I didn't necessarily, I sort of in the middle of that recording, I was like, this isn't good enough. I don't want to put this out there. I don't want my viewers and my listeners thinking this is not my best, at my best doing this show. And then I kind of was just like, no, what? I'm good. Not good enough. So I was wanting to let you guys know, sometimes I do know when I'm not at my best, and I feel like I'm at my best right now recording this episode. So let's get into it. Let's talk some football. All right. So we're going to start with the Bengals and Browns. It's our first game to recap. So yeah, that was a kind of a snoozer one. So you know what? Let me get some more context here. So my viewing, and people are going to say, well, Chandler, you can't watch all the games. It's almost impossible. Well, I mean, yeah, you're not wrong, but here's just how my viewing experience was going. So I had 2 TV set up. I had 4 MoTV boxes going, and I had 2 split screens on the other TV. So I had the Jets and the Commanders on one TV, and then I had the other view, multi-view thing going. I had the Bucs game. I had what was the other game? The Patriots game. I had I'm trying to think, what was the other games? So I had the Jaguars game, and then I had, what was that fourth game? Oh, the Browns and Bengals. Because the other 2 games I didn't really care for, because I did watch a little bit of that Colts game, because like the Jaguars game sort of got in delay. So I flipped on the Colts game while that Jaguars game was in delay. But yeah, all right. Back to the Browns game. Let's get back to the Browns game. So I took some notes and did a little bit of research on this type of game. So what I saw is that basically it was a typical AFC North game. Not a whole lot of offense in this game. I mean, this was definitely a defensive battle for sure. And that was definitely one of the main concerns going into this season with the Bengals, obviously, is that their defense wasn't going to necessarily play to their best, because last year they were not very good. Plain and simple, they just simply were not good. I thought yesterday they did show improvements, because yesterday they allowed obviously 16 points. They had 2 takeaways, 2 interceptions, had 2 sacks. They give zero points given up in the last 5 drives, and then they didn't allow a rush longer than 5 yards. So that's definitely improvements for sure. For the Bengals, if you're a Bengals fan, you're like, oh, all right, we might have something here. We might have an actual solid defense. At least, like I kind of was thinking about it, and if I ever did that previous show, what I was doing before I stopped, I was going to say, if the Bengals can have some type of like at least a good / top 15, maybe in that 20 to 15, maybe. I was thinking more than 15 range. If they were somewhere in that 15 range, between 20 and 15, they could actually like be really good. They could be, back to where they have been in the past, in the playoffs, making deep playoff runs. And so we'll see how the the rest of the season goes. But obviously this is a first good start for the Bengals defense. Obviously the Bengals offense wasn't really doing a whole lot. And I found this stat to be kind of crazy, but the Bengals offense in the second half only had a total of 7 yards in the entire second half, which is crazy. I had to do some double reading takes and be like, are we sure? Is this real? This is real? That the Bengals offense only had 7 yards in the entire second half, which is crazy, just crazy stuff. And I guess Joe Burrow probably. I mean, I'm boggled by that. I'm kind of curious on how many sacks he took yesterday because I didn't write that down, but now I kind of want to know how many. So he took 3 sacks, so that's not horrible, but he was 14 to 23 for 113 yards, 1 touchdown. So not his, obviously up to his level of standard, not his best. But like I said, if the Bengals defense can just show some symbols of life, the Bengals might actually, because again, I'm not going to be too concerned. I'm not going to overreact to one performance from their offense. I'm not going to come out here and say that the Bengals offense is no good. Zach Taylor this, Zach Taylor that, or man, the Bengals offense just took a major step back for some reason. No, I'm not going to overreact too much on their week 1 performance, but I am going to overreact to the performance that they had on defense. So yeah, I'll be curious to see how the next 4 weeks goes for the Bengals, because I think, what is their schedule looking like next? Let's see here. The Bengals have the Jaguars next week. Then they have the Vikings, then the Broncos, and then Lions. So this will be a good little test for their defense to see if their defense is legit or if it was fool's gold by the Browns. Because obviously with the Browns, we all know that there wasn't a whole lot of high expectations with the Browns coming in this year. And not a lot of people were expecting them to be any good, which yours truly was saying the same thing. At the same time, I was like, what if the Browns just kind of fuck around and did something stupid and they just won like a bunch of games? But just because I was thinking they still have a good defense, which obviously showed yesterday. It's just that offense didn't necessarily, do anything as well. Obviously, the Browns could have easily have won this game, and we could have had this narrative again that the Bengals are off to a slow start as well. For the 4th year in a row, they're off to a slow start, starting 0-1, but now they're 1-0. So we know how to do that whole narrative thing. If the Browns kicker would have just made one of his either extra points or field goal, the Browns could have easily have won this game. Because like I said, in that one stat, the Bengals offense only had a total of 7 yards in the entire 7 yards in the entire second half. So yeah, I mean, one of the quotes that Joe had out there was that they stole one. They stole one today and they got one in Cleveland. So the Browns or the Cleveland or Joe and the Bengals usually kind of always struggle against the Browns for some reason. I can understand because they obviously have Myles Garrett and their defense is actually usually pretty good with this under this regime with Kevin Stefanski. So it helps when you have Myles Garrett. Here's a stat here for the Browns here. Defensively, the Browns defense held the Bengals to 95 yards net passing yards, extending their NFL long streak to 29 consecutive games without allowing a 300-yard passer. So, and here's another stat here with the Bengals offense and Bengals defense as well. The Browns held the Bengals to 7 yards in the second half. It's the fewest yards in a second half by a winning team in the last 25 years. Cleveland outgained Cincinnati 327 to 141 and doubled up on first downs 22 to 11 and the 1-point loss. Crazy stuff. So, oh well, and then on one positive note, if you're a Browns fan, some Browns fans got married right before the game. So from this person, it says, only in Cleveland, congratulations to Brown Spider Cleveland and to First Lady. This is her Twitter name, but her name is First Lady 888 or First Lady of D4L. Basically, some super fans got married at the Browns Stadium, which good for them. Good for them. Who doesn't love in Cleveland? Obviously, it sucks that they got married and saw the Browns lose, but I'm sure they'll remember that for the rest of their lives. We'd be like, honey, remember when we got married and the Browns lost? Obviously, would have loved the Browns to have won that game, but can't have it always. But yeah, let's see. What's the next game I had on my list here? All right. Yep, next game. Bucs Falcons as in the next game recap. I thought that the Falcons offense looked, and when I was kind of glancing at the game once in a while, I'd be like, the Falcons offense felt like it was moving pretty well. Besides that Bijan run, or was it a run or a pass or whatever it was? Outside of that Bijan touchdown, outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot of other explosive plays. They didn't really get a whole lot of chance to like really do a whole lot on offense. As for their defense, I felt like they did good things, and then they did not necessarily the things to help them win. Obviously, towards the end, they didn't do it. They didn't create enough pressure to get under Baker's skin or anything like that. Raheem Morris, the Falcons coach, said after the game, got to make our kicks, got to make those kicks. So he's not wrong. That's how the Falcons lost this game. Obviously, with the Falcons losing 23-20. Bucks wide receiver rookie Ibuka proves that he's the real deal in the season opener. From one article I was sort of reading, or read the tweet of, I should say. Todd Bowles, the Bucks coach, said on the missed field goal or missed PAT opportunity by their kicker, I was pissed to say the least. So as what we learned from week 1 is that kickers are important and they need to do their jobs. All they have to do is make their kicks. So yeah, this was a typical, like another typical divisional game where it was going to be low scoring, tough win to get. If like it was basically going to come down to who had the ball last, which obviously it was the Falcons, and they had the opportunity to basically win the game. Or wait, no, not to win the game, but it was to tie the game at least, right? Yeah, it was to tie the game to go to overtime, and obviously Younghoe Koo sadly missed a field goal in typical Falcons fashion. You hate to see it, you really do. But I thought Michael Penix, stat-wise and kind of watching the game a bit towards the end, I thought he actually looked pretty good. I mean, if you're a Falcons fan, you got to be slightly encouraged on Penix's performance. But as for the Bucks, like I said, Ibuka's he's definitely a problem. I think he's going to be really good. I'm trying to think. I feel like their defense could definitely improve, but like I think that's a pretty solid group of players as well. But yeah, that's basically all my thoughts on that game. I think, who do the Bucks have next? Let's look up some the next 4 for each team here. Let's see what both those teams are looking like for their next opponents are. So the Bucks have the Texans, the Jets, the Eagles, and the Seahawks. So they're at the Texans, home for the Jets, home for the Eagles, and at Seattle. And then as for the Falcons are at Minnesota, which is the Sunday night game. And then they're at Panthers, home for Commanders, and home for the Bills. So yeah. All right, next game here. We're going to move on to the Colts and Dolphins. Yikes. If you are a Dolphins fan, you are like, what the hell happened to this team? Yikes. They are cooked. It is not looking good down in South Beach right now. Look, are we going to overreact to a week 1 performance? Absolutely. We are going to overreact to this one for sure, because there were bad vibes to begin with the Dolphins, and it showed today, or I shouldn't say today, yesterday. It showed yesterday that they are not a team that just going to fight, or they kind of just gave up on the season already. They are not good. Tua did not look good at all. It was not good at all. For their offense in the first half had 0 points, 29 yards passing, 14 yards rushing, 2 turnovers, and 3 sacks. So yeah, they made Daniel Jones look like actually good-looking quarterback. I mean, that's pretty hard to do. And Daniel Jones, I mean, I'm not going to bash on the guy too much, but like, you know how it is. We all seen Daniel Jones before. Now, granted, he was on the Giants, and the Giants weren't necessarily that great to begin with. But maybe on the Colts here, he could be something. We just don't know yet. I feel like we need to see more. But he showed promising stuff. He was 22 of 29 for 298 total yards. He had 1 passing and 2 rushing. I had a stat here for the Colts. This was also their first week 1 win in 12 years. So congratulations, Colts, on finally winning a week 1 game. Daniel Jones and the Colts on their first 7 drives had a field goal, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, field goal. No other quarterback this century has scored on every possession of a game. Wow, that's pretty good. That is pretty good. That's a remarkable stat. If this is true, that no other quarterback in this century has scored on every possession of a game, which I feel like I was going to say, didn't last night's game do that? But no, there were some punts in there. So you can't say that about last night's Sunday night game. So there were punts in there. So I was like, man, that's crazy. There's not one other quarterback that's done that, not like a Manning or a Brady. That's pretty remarkable stuff. If this strat's true, that's pretty crazy stuff. But yeah, if I'm a Dolphins fan, I'm not I'm kind of just gave up on the season. Like, this team stinks. And there's a good, thank goodness I took the under on their win totals because they stink. You guys stink. Let's see. Oh, you know what? If I'm gonna try and spin zone this and trying to help the Dolphins fans, trying to lift them up a little bit just to find them some wins here. Let's see. Okay, their next 4 games, 3 of them are divisional opponents, so they're home for the Patriots, which could be a win. It could be. We'll get to the Patriots game here in a sec, but I'm going to say that's a toss-up. I don't know. At the Bills, that's a loss. Home for the Jets, that's an interesting one. I'm going to say that's a loss too. I think the Jets could be pretty solid, but we'll get to the Jets here in a sec. And then their next one is at Panthers. That could be a win. That could be a win. I don't know. They looked so bad yesterday. I can't even decide if that's going to be a win or not. And then they're home for the Chargers. That's a loss. So there's at least two gettable, winnable games in there for you Dolphins fans out there in your next 5 games. Just keep your heads up. It's a long season. I'm sure you're already thinking this team stinks and all that, which I would be on the same boat for. All right, let's move on here. Speaking of the Patriots, let's talk about them. I had this game on. I wasn't necessarily locked in on it a whole lot. From when I was kind of reading up on it, saw that from the scores, I was like, man, the Raiders are actually looking like a sneaky good team. They could be a sneaky good team in the AFC West. They could be one of those teams that they're fighting for that last AFC spot, that 6 or 7 seed for sure. They're definitely going to be in the hunt. They're going to be in the hunt team. They could be a sneaky good team. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Gino was kind of cooking today, even though it was kind of like it was raining a little bit, I thought, during that game. So Gino was cooking. Drake May, he looked good at times. Like I said, I'm not going to come out here and act like I watched the entire game. I didn't watch a whole lot of this game. But what from I saw and was reading from the box scores and all that, Gino was cooking. Drake May had a solid game, a good game. There was I saw one tweet that's saying that Brock Bowers might be hurt, but then I did some more research and found out Brock Bowers is going to be okay. He'll be fine. Just had a minor hit on his knee, and he'll be back. No concerns, so that's good. Like I said, the Patriots had some good moments. I'm sure they'll be fine because next week they have the Dolphins, so I think they'll be okay. Like I was saying in my other note that I said Pete Carroll's team looking pretty good. They could be a sneaky good team. The Raiders might be good. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see for more on that. All right. I got the Cardinals and Saints, which I didn't watch a single second of this game. I just know the Cardinals won. So this basically all I wrote down in my notes is that the Saints stink and the Cardinals won. So there you go. There's basically your recap on that. I wish I could give you more intel of this game. Like I said, didn't watch a single second of this game just because I know the Saints stink, and I figured the Cardinals were going to win, which they did. It wasn't necessarily the Cardinals didn't necessarily blow them out, nor the Saints didn't really do anything to deserve my worth of watching a single second of this game. I was like, I don't really care. So yeah, I'm sorry to all the Saints and Cardinals fans out there that are listening to this episode. They're like, oh man, I can't wait for Chanler's to tell me good things about my team. I'm sorry. I got nothing for you Saints fans. I got really nothing for you Cardinals fans. Next week I'll have something more for the Cardinals, and maybe I'll have something for the Saints if they do something hilariously bad things. Continue to do bad things. So yeah. Okay, we're going to move on here to the Jets and Steelers, which was basically the game of the afternoon. Pretty high-scoring game. Rodgers looked like the old Rodgers a little bit. He was moving. He was moving out of the pocket. He was rolling out, making throws. I was like, oh, man, is Rodgers back? I don't want to overreact too much about Rodgers' performance week 1. But it would show promising moments. If you're a Steelers fan, you're like, okay, well, if Rodgers can do this more often, maybe we'll win some games, and maybe we'll actually win a playoff game for once and forever. And we won't just be like a 7 seed that just sucks and gets our ass kicked by one of the good teams. Who knows? But the wait game shall wait. But yeah, like I said, I would be a little concerned about the defense just a little bit, but otherwise, I think they're going to be okay. I think they'll be all right. TJ Watt's still there, and I know they had their There was some first round pick that they had either this year or last year that was hurt. He didn't play. But yeah, I would say the Jets offense actually looks pretty good. Justin Fields looked great. He looked awesome yesterday. He was actually like throwing the ball well. He was running. I mean, the Jets actually had an offense. It's remarkable. The Jets usually don't have this type of offense where they score like 30 points. You don't see this very often from the Jets. So it was good stuff. I'm glad Justin Fields is playing well. As someone who had to root for him as a quarterback, as my former quarterback, I'm glad he's doing well. I really am. I'm happy for the guy. Obviously, he's not my quarterback anymore, and obviously, it was a disaster with the Bears. And didn't necessarily live up to the hype, and we didn't necessarily. It was a little bit part of the Bears' fault, and Justin not necessarily fitting what the Bears were looking for in a sense. Because because I think so he was drafted basically in Matt Nagy's last year with the Bears, and then he obviously Nagy gets fired. They bring in the new guy, Matt Eberflus, which was a joke. They bring him in, and he had Justin had his moments. He had those great rushing yards, long touchdowns, and he had his moments of showing flashes, right? He had his moments. And then there were moments where you're just like, we just want you to show us a little bit more. We want you to make those throws. And he couldn't deliver it on us yet. And then obviously we trade him to the Steelers, and obviously we have Caleb now, so the rest is history. He gets to the Steelers, and then he kind of didn't really give him a whole lot of an opportunity to show that he could be the guy for the Steelers. He was only given 4 games, and then the Steelers immediately went to Russ. So, and then obviously he gets signed by the Jets. And again, this is a bit of an overreaction, but I think Jets fans and people that have microphones should be allowed to overreact to a Justin Fields performance. He looked awesome. He looked great. So yeah, like I said, I think the only concern if you're a Jets fan is the defense. The secondary didn't necessarily play up to the level of their standard, I feel like, with Sauce Gardner and some of the other secondary players as well. So if you're a Jets fan, you just hope that the secondary plays a lot better than what they did yesterday. And then Mike Tomlin had some quote of his kicker being a serial killer. Well, if you're going to say that, you hope to God he's not a serial killer because we've already had too many. We've only had one too many NFL players being serial killers. So we don't need another. We don't need another one. You don't need another one. Okay, we're gonna transition here to another New York team. The Washington Commanders played the New York Giants. As the Commanders get the win, it was 21-6. 21-6 was your final score of that game as well. The only things I kind of had from this game is that it already sounds like they're already going to bench Russ, which do not bench Russ just yet. Do not put Jackson Dart out there already. It's only week 1. Yes, the offense didn't look its best, but at the same time, I felt like that offensive line didn't really help Russ at all for him to even succeed at all. I was kind of watching. I'm trying to keep tracks of all the games, what's happening and all that. But from my point of view, from that offense, is that Russ can really throw the ball. Nobody was kind of getting open. The offensive line wasn't helping him, even though I feel like they kind of invest a little bit into that offensive line to make it good. And I'm sure Giants fans will say, let's just play the new kid. We're done with the Russ experiment. Let's just play the Jackson. I think you need to be patient, and you just need to let Russ play a little bit longer, and then you can put Jackson Dart out there. You can't put him out right away. You simply just cannot. You cannot put him out there right away, because if you put him out there right away, if you lose confidence at all, it's going to be bad, and you're going to be like, oh my God, this kid's not it. This kid doesn't have it. Because Brian Daboll is sort of on the hot seat a little bit. I mean, I shouldn't say a little bit, but he could definitely could be, even though I kind of think he is a good coach, and he did get the Giants with Daniel Jones to the playoffs, so that has to mean something. I don't know what's going on with the Giants, but if you're a Giants fan, the only thing I would say is their defense did look good. One positive thing is that you got to be encouraged by what you saw from your defense. It actually looked pretty good. Their D line is insanely good. I'm all in on the Giants defense. If they could figure something out offensively, they could be a problem. I'm not going to say they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to be one of the teams that kind of pulls off a win and you wouldn't necessarily expect it. So as for the Commanders, I feel like the offense didn't really click a whole lot for Jane Daniels. I feel like there were good drives, and then there would be moment killers, and then there wasn't really a groove. I mean, it's the first game, so you got to get all the rust out. And I feel like There was like one preseason game where he only did a drive and then he was done. So I feel like these types of week one games, if your offense didn't necessarily click, it's because either one, they didn't play a whole lot in the preseason, or like I said, I think it was more the Giants defense looking good. So we'll be curious to see what the Commanders look like next week when they have to play the Packers. I believe that game is at the Packers. I believe it's at Lambeau. So be curious to see what the Commanders are going to look like. I mean, they got the win, but they didn't look at their best. So that's all that matters. Is you 1-0 and you got the win. So, all right, so let's move on to the last afternoon game. You got the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the Carolina Panthers, and Carolina didn't necessarily look all their best. Now, I kind of was watching. I was watching one of the. I think I was watching the Jets game at the time, and I looked over to the screen and I noticed on one of the cues on one of the boxes it said that this game is in a weather delay. I was like, what? I swear the game was just there was sunshine. What happened? Why is there a rain delay? So yeah. Trying to think if there's anything else I should talk about with this game, because like I said, I was watching it but not really, because I felt like Jacksonville looked a lot better than what Carolina kind of showed, because I was kind of all in on Carolina being like the second best team in that division. But now I might be overreacting to this, but now I'm starting to think they might not be any good again, and that Bryce Young kind of like maybe took a step back again, but maybe not. I don't know. I kind of feel like I have to rewatch the game and watch the highlights again to sort of get more of a sense on what I kind of saw. Even though Travis Etienne, damn, I didn't realize he had 16 carries of 143 yards. Look at him go. All right, I see you, Travis Etienne. Good for him. But in my preview show that I was going to do, I was going to say this is like this year for Trevor Lawrence has got to be like a prove it year, for just to get the media to come back on your side and think that he is the guy, he is this, it's more of a just prove it to the world that you are who we thought you were going to be. He played okay, didn't necessarily blow the waters out of his stats. I mean, he was 19 of 31 for 178 yards and a touchdown. Let's talk about a little bit about that Travis Hunter guy here. Let's see, how many catches did he have today? He had 6 catches for 133 yards. His longest was 10 yards, and he had 8 targets. Let's see what his stats were defensively here. So obviously the main storyline with Travis Hunter is that how many snaps he was going to get defensively, because I feel like the Jaguars were going to focus in on him playing more offensive snaps than they were defensively. But let's see, he had 1 total tackle, and that was pretty much about it for at least his stat line. I'm sure he made impacts in the in the secondary and all that, but that's all I can see from this box score. Let's see, what other game? What's the next game? We're in the afternoon slate here, or I should say the late window. All right, Titans versus Broncos. This was wow. Let me tell you, this was a snoozer of a game if I've ever seen one. Now, I'll be honest again. This was one of the games that I probably didn't watch the most, just because, one, there was a whole lot going on, and I felt like the Broncos didn't necessarily play their best. The defense, I thought, played good, just sort of glancing in and out of it. But I just feel like Bo didn't necessarily play his best, and I'm wanting to make this take about Bonix, but I'm only going to say it just to piss off my cousin Taylor's husband, who is a Broncos fan, just to piss him off. And I'm sure if he sees this, which he probably won't, but if he does, are we sure Bonix is the guy? Are you sure? I know there was a thought during the game. You're like, there was a small leather in the back of your thought that was like, maybe he's not the guy. Are we sure? Maybe it was just a one-hit wonder. Sophomore slump? Huh, Brad? Huh? Yeah. I know there were some thoughts in there. I know you were thinking it. I was close to texting you, because I have your number. I was close to texting you about, hey, next, huh? What are we thinking? Still the guy? Huh? I do have one question, though. What was the play call on that fourth down to, they were trying to ice the game? What was that play call? What was Bonix doing? Why was Sean Payton trying to go for it? Were they trying to lose the game? Because look, obviously the Titans couldn't do anything offensively because they had 2 drop passes. Cam Warren actually, I thought watching towards the end of the game, actually looked good. He literally had Calvin Ridley wide open, and Calvin Ridley just dropped the ball. It would have got him closer into field goal range, or not even field goal range because they needed a touchdown. At least would have got him closer. Yeah, I don't know what to make of the Broncos. I feel like this was definitely a game that people kind of was thinking, oh, the Broncos are going to win easily. The Titans stink. But this is typically the game. This would have been the game that people would have been like, how did the Broncos lose to the Titans? This was definitely the game. And all the other Broncos fans that I know that on my mom's side are probably thinking the same thing. I don't know how we won that game. We looked bad, or I shouldn't say bad, but we didn't. They didn't look great. Let's just say that they didn't look great. They didn't look at their best. I mean, Bonix was 25 of 40. Why are you throwing the ball 40 times with Bonix? Hey, run the ball a little bit, for the love of Pete. I guess they did run it like 30 times, but RJ Harvey only had 6 carries. KJ Dobbins had 16. I mean, I guess they did have 151 yards rushing. So maybe, I don't know. Their offense just didn't necessarily click at its best. We'll see how the rest of the season looks for the Denver Broncos. But yeah, I was close. I was close to texting you. And as soon as the Broncos don't do all that good, and absolutely this could backfire me with the Bears, but I'm coming with those texts. You better be ready, Brad, because I'm coming. I'm gonna be talking so much crap to you. Look at me. I'm up on this video right now. You and I both know that Bonix isn't the guy. You know it. You thought last year he led you to playoffs. You're like, oh, we didn't play our best in the playoff game, but he'll improve next year. It's a 1 year. And absolutely, some Broncos fans going to clip all this and make some type of edit with me saying all these bad stuff about Bonix, and Bonix is going to play great the rest of the year. I don't care. I just want to give shit. I just want to talk crap about Bonix and the Broncos to Mr. Bradley, who was talking a lot of crap about the Bears last year, which had every right to. He had every right to, because last year was a disaster. Okay, moving on here from the Broncos, and we're going to talk the Niners and Seahawks. All right, so the Niners and the Seahawks. This one was kind of an interesting game. I had this one on the big TV. I was watching most of it. I was definitely watching. This was the game I was watching the most of. But Christian McCaffrey is definitely a difference maker in this Niners offense. And I feel like the Niners offensively had some good moments. Like that first drive looked great for them. Like they just kind of went down the field and looked great. And then obviously for some reason, like the next series after that, George Kittle gets hurt with the hamstring injuries. So that if you take it's just one of those things that the Niners just got to stay healthy. I mean, I don't get why the Niners all of a sudden, now granted George Kittle is a little bit older, but still it's just like, how do these players keep getting injured once in a while? It just doesn't make any sense to me that every year there's at least one of their star players gets hurt. It's kind of weird that they keep doing this. But luckily, I'm sure he'll be fine. It's only a hamstring, so I don't think he'll be out for too long. I don't know typically how long hamstring injuries are. I'm sure he'll definitely miss like next week's game for sure and all that. But so yeah, I feel like Purdy actually played pretty good. Obviously, the turnovers aren't great, but I feel like there's a part of me that thinks he was trying to force it, but at the same time, there wasn't their receiving core isn't necessarily the best. Like Ricky Pearsall, I think has the potential of being pretty good. He obviously had a pretty good game today, or I should say yesterday. I keep thinking today, but yesterday he had an actually pretty good game. Obviously, they're still waiting for Ayuk to come back from his ACL injury. And they have Jawan Jennings, who at times can be good, and at times can play at a high level. But otherwise, you only have Christian, George, and I guess Pearsall. So that's basically your 3 offensive players. Obviously, you take George out, and if the Seahawks are committed to stop Christian McCaffrey, I get it from Brock's point of view that I feel like he just has to go out there and sort of make a play. But yeah, I mean, obviously, what it counted the most, Brock got on the field and led the Niners to a game-winning touchdown, which obviously he always does because he's Mr. Purdy. I'm sure as for you know what? Let's just move on to the Seahawks point of view. From Seattle's point of view, Aaron Donald didn't really do a whole lot, even though he found Jackson Smith and Jigaba a whole lot in this game. What's like, once it got towards the end of the game, I was like, how many yards does Jackson Smith got? And I looked at the box score and went, oh, damn, he's got 124 yards. This guy's pretty good. He's pretty good. Because like outside of Jackson Smith and the Jigba, their offense was not doing a whole lot of nothing. Just absolute nothing. Now you can credit that to the Niners defense who played pretty well yesterday. They just played really well. They're going to be good, as always, with Robert Salah being back at the helm of the defensive as their defensive coordinator. Fred Warner sort of got banged up, but he's fine. Obviously, Nick Bosa making the play of the game, sealing the deal for the win, strip sacking. I shouldn't say he pushed the lineman into Sam to force a fumble and then recovering it for the win. So if you're a Seattle fan, I feel like you feel like the offense didn't necessarily do anything, but I feel like you're not panicking just yet, and you're not overreacting to Sam Darnold's performance, even though that turnover was not good. And you're like, I wish Sam could just play a little better. Because like I said, I mean, outside of Jackson Smith, the Jigba, their offense didn't really do a whole lot. Their next leading receiver was Cooper Kupp, was 2 catches for 15 yards. Then they had this guy, Elijah Aurier, with 1 catch for 7 yards. Kenneth Walker, 3 catches for 4 yards. And that was pretty much it. Jackson Smith-Njigba was the only offense. They ran the ball like 26 times. Wait, Jalen Milroe was in the game? I didn't even notice. There you go. Anyways, yeah, if you're a Seattle fan, I feel you're allowed to overreact to the offense being bad. I shouldn't say bad. It was not great. It was just not great performance by them, I should say. But anyways, so yeah, that's it for the Niners game. We move on. We got 3 games left here to recap here. The Packers and the Lions. So we'll start off with the Lions here. The Lions, I think they're going to be okay. But I think if you want to overreact about their performance, you're going to overreact to Ben Johnson not being there anymore and not helping that Lions offense create explosion plays, draw up the players to get open and all that. I just feel like now, as someone who has Ben Johnson as their coach now, I hope I'm not going to talk shit about the Lions not being good offensively, and then tonight our offense doesn't look good at all, which I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm just saying. But anyways, Ben Johnson might have been the reason why the Lions offense might have been good last year and years past. So if you're a Lions fan, I think you're allowed to overreact on how Ben Johnson meant to you guys offensively. Because, like, what was the stat that Gibbs was the broken NFL record for catching 10 passes with having the fewest amount of yardage or something to that effect? Because I think he had 10 catches for like 30 yards or something like that. What was his stat line? Yeah, 10 catches for 31 yards. That's pretty crazy. If you're going to catch the ball 10 times and only have 31 yards, that's like, if you're going to have 10 catches, you got to at least have like 100 yards. But now, granted, he's a running back, but still, that's pretty. He's like the first NFL player to have like, 10 catches for like 30 yards. Let me see if I can find that stat here. Let's see, Gibbs. Let's see if I can find this stat. Here we go. This is from Field Yates. A weird receiving stat line for Jahmyr Gibbs. 10 catches for 31 yards. That is the fewest receiving yards in a game where a player had at least 10 catches in NFL history. That is pretty crazy. That is a crazy stat line. As for their I feel like basically it was just the perfect storm where week 1 happens and they happen to play the Packers, who just got Micah Parsons, and they both, in the offseason, they lose both their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator to the Bears and the Jets, and Aaron Glenn going to the Jets and Ben Johnson coming to the Bears. And, I just felt like their defense didn't necessarily play up to par at that first quarter, and definitely light second quarter. But I felt like they played a lot better, or they made some adjustments in the, as the game went on and all that. But they're offensively, I feel like there are going to be concerns for sure if the Lions offense isn't going to, try and expand or I shouldn't say expand the playbook, but, trying to expand an offense that creates opportunities for their players to make plays for them and trying to get the ball to their best players. They're like Sam Laporta, and then like that one play where Sam Laporta was wide open on like a deep drop or a deep drag or deep cross or whatever you call it. I can't remember what you call that route anymore. I mean, where he was wide open. That was like the only time they like actually threw the ball downfield. Other times it was just more dinks and dunks to their, to Jahmyr Gibbs or to somebody. There was a lot of check downs. So I mean, it's just that now granted, I don't want to give the Packers too much credit because I freaking hate that team so much, but I will give credit where credit is due. I will. Even though it hurts me. It hurts me to say this. The defense might be pretty good. The defense might be pretty good. I'm still not buying in on Jordan Love. I will keep that stand. I'm not buying it all in. He's a good quarterback. He's not the quarterback that some of these media people think that he is. He's not that guy. Look, he's not that guy. He's not up to that level of, to those level of quarterbacks that some of these media people think that Jordan Love is. Let's pump the brakes, okay? It was one good game today. Dan Orlovsky that was thinking that Jordan Love's going to win MVP. Let's pump the brakes. He's not winning MVP. After last night, he ain't winning MVP because you know who was going to win MVP again? Probably Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Not him. Not him at all. I don't care if they have the best record and he had a semi-good year. He does not deserve MVP. Absolutely not. I will make sure that does not happen on this platform right here. I will make sure Jordan Love does not win MVP. All right. Now that I got my hatred out of the way for a second. Like I said, to all the Packers fans out there, especially the ones that are my friends, your defense is good. And it hurts me to say it. It really does. But it's pretty interesting that look, this is me being a hater right here. I promise you, I'm just going to say it out loud. I'm being a hater in this moment right now. But otherwise, I promise I'm going to be fair the rest of the time. It's pretty interesting that a certain player gets paid a lot of money and only played like 30 snaps. $47 million guy, and he's just on the sideline a whole lot. And you're going to tell me, oh, Chanler, he was hurt. He has a little back issue. Well, if he was playing yesterday, you should just be out there. We can't be out there only on third downs and only on special occasions, only 30 snaps. I don't care that Chanler was affecting the game so much with those 30 snaps that he was in. He's the best. I don't care. Because I did have, now in my preview when I was going to talk about this game, I was going to bring up a text that a friend of mine who's also a Bears fan, and him and I could be delusional on this, and Packers fans are going to come after me. I'm sure they will. And maybe some other fans too. They'll be like, Chan, do you even know what the hell you're even talking about? But he did bring up a good point, or at least sort of a good point. And again, this could be us just being haters of the Packers and all that fun stuff. But this is his quote, not mine. This was his. Because he was, it was like the day after the trade happened. And he was asking me, so Chan, what are your thoughts on this? And I went, well, I kind of gave him a whole spiel of it. And then he goes, like, later in the day, because he was a little busy that day, but he goes, my thoughts was it was a bad deal as well as initially, but after some time to reflect, I think it was the best deal for the Cowboys. For $47 million, it's too much, and you get 2 first-round picks. The Cowboys are very, very top-heavy on their caps and needed to fill some more holes with depth, and already paid Dak and CD, and they have 4 first-round picks that can change the team dramatically if they hit, and won't have to pay them for a while. So there you go, which is true. If you're going to pay a guy $47 million, you better hope you live up to the expectation, helps you win. Out of football games, look, again, as someone as coming from a guy, like I said, as a hater, and I have another cousin who is just like, he accepts that the Packers are good. I'm not willing to go there just yet, just because I'm still a hater, and just like, dude, you just need to accept it. You just need to cope. You just need to stop. You just need to accept it. I'm like, no, I will not accept it. I will not accept that the Packers are good, because I've seen this before. I've seen this movie way too many times where some people buy into the Packers are going to be good. They're going to be Super Bowl champions, this, that. I know the real truth about the Packers. I know it. They're going to go and win a bunch of games. They're going to make it to the playoffs. And next thing you know, Jordan Love and them are going to get in there, and they're going to have, this like remarkable season. Next thing you know, they're in the playoffs, and it just comes crashing down on them like it does every single year in the playoffs after they've won their little Super Bowl from like 2011. Look, okay, I'm going to stop. I was going to go real deep and being a big troll and hater on the Packers, but I'm going to stop. I'm just going to stop. So let's just stop. So basically, my two takeaways: the Packers defense is pretty good. The offense could be good. The Lions, losing Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn could hurt them in the long run, short term or in the short term. Long term, maybe not. So yeah. All right, moving on with the last two games here we got. All right, the Texans and the Rams. So the Rams, didn't really watch a whole lot of this one just because, one, there wasn't a whole lot happening. And let's just talk about the Texans offense a little bit. Why aren't they better? They should be a lot better. Why aren't they that much? They should be. Like, that rookie year CJ Stroud had it was just great, and we thought he was going to be all that, but maybe not. I don't know. I mean, they did make the playoffs last year, and they did win a playoff game last year as well. But there's a part of me that thinks that CJ Stroud is not progressing to the expectations that we sort of had for him after his rookie year. Now this is his third year, and he was 9 of 27 for 188 yards and an interception, didn't throw a touchdown. I mean, he was spreading the ball out, and their leading receiver was Jaden Higgins. Shout out Jaden Higgins for 2 catches for 32 yards. So it's like I want more from their offense, and they just fired their offensive coordinator last year, and they only scored 9 points. I feel like, now granted, they were playing a really good Rams team whose defense is pretty good, but I feel like we just want to see more from that offense, because he had such a great rookie year, and then the second year, the sophomore slump-ish, like he didn't necessarily play all that bad his sophomore year, but I feel like they're just missing something. The offensive line's still not great. The running back situation's not that great either. They're having to rely on an injured Nick Chubb, and they had like 5 other people who ran the ball as well. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what to really make of the Texans right now. I feel like if I got to see more games, I gotta maybe do some research, watch some videos, all that fun stuff. But as for the Rams, Puka looked awesome. Puka was cool. Devontae Adams looked good. The Rams offense actually looked pretty good. Matt Stafford didn't have any issues with his back or didn't look terribly injured, but Kyler Williams looked solid. Their defense was actually pretty good. So I'm going to buy some stock into the Rams this year, which I was going to probably do anyways. But I'm going to say the Rams are going to be a pretty tough team to beat this year for sure. They're definitely going to be one of the best teams in the NFC for sure, because obviously you have the Eagles, and I hate saying this, but maybe the Packers and them are all going to be sort of in that mix of who's the best team in the NFC. But right now, it's still head to toes. It's still the Eagles as of right now, because the Eagles have just looked pretty good in that season opener. So yeah. All right, let's talk about the main event. The game we all saw last night that most of us probably, if you stayed up, you watched an epic comeback. If you went to bed when the score was 40-25, I don't blame you. I'm still trying to figure out how exactly did the Buffalo Bills came back, and how the hell did the Baltimore Ravens blow that game as well. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So the Ravens in the first half looked like they were just cooking, going up and down the field with Derrick Henry and Lamar, and they were passing and running and having these explosive plays happen. And Derrick Henry had an amazing night, obviously, besides that critical moment at the end, but we'll get there in a sec. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills kind of had a good start, and then they kind of took I wouldn't say a slow start, but good start, but then they didn't necessarily continue to do stuff, and then until like the second half later, and where they started playing out of their minds. But these two teams are for sure the best teams in the AFC, without a question. I don't doubt that one sec. These two teams are definitely going to be in the running for either, one, the best teams in the NFL, or two, the best teams in the AFC. We'll have to wait and see. I did say in some prediction that I'd say that the Buffalo Bills were going to finally make it to the Super Bowl this year. And it's easy to say that the Chiefs were going to, but I just felt like, you know what? I'm going to say it. I'm going to say the Bills are going to. So after watching last night's game, I'm feeling pretty confident that the Bills might actually make it to the Super Bowl this year, not the Chiefs. So again, this isn't an overreaction, but it's week 1 and it's Monday, so we're allowed to overreact a little bit. So okay, so let's skip let's fast forward a little bit towards the second half where it's below this game. How do they keep doing this? Like, how do the Ravens keep blowing games in these types of situations? They just somehow can't win the big games. It's remarkable. Derrick Henry had 18 carries for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like 2 big runs for touchdowns. They were up 40-25 with 4 minutes left in the game. There was like 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, and you blew it. Okay, so here's my point of view from the game. So once the Ravens scored a touchdown, I watched one more possession of the Bills, and then I went to rotate my laundry real quick. I went to go put it away and stuff like that. And then as I got sort of done and I was going to wait a little bit, I decided to go back out, see how the game was going. And next thing I know, I see the Buffalo has scored. I'm like, oh crap, we sort of have a game here. So I sat back down and watched the game. And next thing I know, 2 plays later, Derrick Henry fumbles the ball, and now we officially got ourselves a game where the Buffalo Bills can tie this game back up. It was just one of those moments where you're like, oh my God, how did Derrick Henry just fumble the ball? Oh my goodness, the Bills might win this game. So obviously, in about 5 plays later, the Bills scored, and they needed to go for 2 to tie the game. They ran a play. I didn't like the play call itself necessarily, even though you kind of, it's a one-on-one matchup, and it's going up against your best receiver in a jump ball situation, but it wasn't necessarily the best play call, but that's neither here or there. And then the Ravens get the ball back. You would think, and obviously the Bills had all 3 timeouts, so they had plenty of time to, get to stop. But so it's basically the main conversation on that drive is obviously the Bills get to stop, but it's 4th down and 3. Obviously you're inside enemy's territory. It's 4th and 3. It's a long 3. Now people are saying that no. I was kind of thinking in the same sense in the moment. I was like, you think they go for it? Because I would, like, in hindsight, obviously you probably should have gone for it, right? You should have at least attempted to do it because your offense has been great. They haven't been stopped at all today. You might as well at least attempt to go for it, right? They decided to punt it, elected to trust their defense to get a stop, which obviously wasn't the case, but we'll get to there in a sec. Like, I don't know what play call you would go with. Just either I would trust Lamar. I would be like, okay, Lamar, if we decide to go for it, I'm going to trust you to make whatever decision you want. It's your call. Do whatever you want with it. So I would just let him decide if we should go for it or not. I feel like he probably would have said go for it. But again, if you don't get it, the Bills are in great position to just kick the field goal as well and keep driving down the field. Granted, there's still about a minute 40-ish left when the Bills get the ball back. But I don't know. I feel like it was definitely, I don't know. I think the right decision was to kick it. To just do trust your defense. But your defense didn't necessarily play all that well. Obviously, letting up 41 points and letting up 15 unanswered points, which obviously didn't help with the Derrick Henry fumble. But it's just one of those things where you just kind of do it like hindsight 2020. You say, go for it, right? Go for it, John. Go for the win. Go for it. And we'll see these teams later in the playoff for sure. This rematch is definitely going to happen in the playoffs, but obviously it will probably be in Buffalo just because they have the tiebreaker if that scenario came down to it. But I mean, it's just a remarkable comeback. I mean, Matt Prater, who was just there, who got there on Thursday, got on a red eye, has to kick the game-winning field goal for the Bills to come back in that situation. And let me tell you another thing. One thing won't ever change. One thing will always still be true as Jair Alexander still isn't good at football. I don't care if he sees this. Dude, you're not very good. I mean, you're a lot better than I am. And this is a guy who barely played a whole lot of varsity football to begin with as a corner. I was like one of the backups, so obviously, you're still in the NFL, so congratulations. But, dude, you're kind of booty cheeks. You got beat like 2 times in the final 2 drives by Joshua Palmer, and then Nikhil Coleman nearly scored on you if you didn't trip him up at the very end. Yeah, you stink, dude. You stink. So, yeah. If I had to vote on who was the MVP last night, I would say Josh Allen would probably MVP. I would go MVP number one, Josh Allen. Number 2, Derrick Henry, and number 3, Lamar, and then number 4, Zay Flowers. Because Zay Flowers played awesome last night. He was great. 7 catches for 143 yards and a touchdown. He was great last night. It was definitely the game of the year so far. And it's only week 1. It's already the game of the year. So just great stuff all around. So I can't wait for this matchup to happen again in the playoffs, where maybe the Ravens get their revenge and maybe not. Who knows? So we'll have to wait and see if we get a rematch in the playoffs, which I kind of expect to at this point. Because like I said, I definitely think, and I think most people think who either watch this game or just cover the sport in general, think that these were the 2 best teams either in all of football or at least in the AFC for sure, who are going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. So, but again, I would have concerns on both sides of the ball, but at the same time, it's either both teams' defense isn't necessarily that good, or both offenses are just so fucking good. It doesn't matter what defense is out there. So we'll have to wait and see on how the season progresses with their defense and how it looks. If their defenses are still not as good as they were hoping so, because I felt like there were moments where the Bills defense did get some pressure on Lamar, but there was that one crazy play where Lamar he was about to get sacked and he was going to take a big sack and then somehow avoided one guy and just moved on and got a first down. It was crazy how he did that. I was like, how does he keep doing this? How does he do this? So yeah. All right, so that's pretty much it for week 1 in the books as of right now. I will have my post-game reaction to the Bears and the Vikings later tonight. I will either get that out late tomorrow or late, basically right as the game ends. I will hopefully have that out, or I'll have it out tomorrow morning or something to that effect. So either way, I'll get my reaction to the Bears game and tell you all the great things that Caleb's going to do tonight. So it's going to be fun stuff. I can't wait to watch Caleb tonight. I just can't wait. I'm so excited. Other scheduling programming notes. I'm going to try and get an episode out either Thursday or Wednesday for sure. That way I can get some more football content out there, or just some more I don't know, random topics I want to sort of talk about. But this was fun. I'm glad I finally got an episode where I didn't have to stop because I didn't think this episode was any good. I hope this recap was fun for you guys. I hope I caught you up on all the stuff you needed to know for week 1 in the NFL. I can't wait for week 2. I can't wait for tonight's football game. Obviously, go Bears. And so yeah, if you are listening to this episode on audio, and you're listening to this on, Spotify, Apple, or whatever platform that you typically listen to on, make sure you subscribe and make sure you tell a friend. Tell your friends about the show. Tell a friend. Or if you're watching this on video, if you're watching me point right at you, I'm pointing right at you. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you go follow us on the socials. We're on Twitter. Or I shouldn't say we. I said I am. The show is on Twitter. The show is also on TikTok, on the TikTok. And I post some clips out there once in a while on the TikTok from the show. So yeah, make sure you go, follow those on the social. And so yeah, like I said, go like and subscribe on all the platforms that I have the show on. So I appreciate everybody listening to this episode and recapping week 1 of the NFL. And I will see you guys either later tonight or next time I see you. I'll see you guys next time. And one quick thing. One quick reminder to all of the viewers out there. Let me come in a little closer. If you're watching this on YouTube, I just want to remind everybody that it's a cyclone state, and it always will be. All right, I'll see you guys next time.